Department of Labor and Industry. Thank you for joining us. We've got hopefully a very informational hour ahead of us today to answer questions all of you may be having in regards to what it means as these unemployment insurance programs come to an end. So just some basic housekeeping things. This session is being recorded. We will be placing it on our website, and Abby can go ahead and put, or some of the people working in the background can put that link in the chat box so you can go back and reference it. We will also probably be placing it on our unemployment insurance page, so you can go back and reference that as well. Some of the information that we are sharing today is legal information, which is not the same as legal advice. So we're going to do our best to present it in a neutral way. But if you have specific questions on how it relates to you in a legal capacity, we can't give you legal advice. So we recommend that you reach out to an attorney if you have specific questions to make sure that you are applying the law correctly. But we will do our best to provide information to you today that you'll be able to easily understand. So a little bit about this forum. These town halls were something that we started a little over a year ago in response to the pandemic for both claimants and employers alike, because there were just so many questions that all of you had. And so we use this as a forum to reach multiple people at one time and provide information as it came to us. So this is just a continuation of that, and hopefully something that all of you claimants can use to apply to your situation going forward. So about 14 months ago, the pandemic hit us, and we started experiencing the impacts of that on our workforce for individuals applying for unemployment insurance, and also for employers who were trying to deal with that as well. And April of last year, Montana had a record high unemployment of 11.9 for the year. And since then, our unemployment insurance division here at the Department of Labor and Industry implemented 8 different programs to distribute unemployment insurance benefits to claimants. And over the course of the last 14 months, we've distributed over $1.4 billion to claimants within the state of Montana. So recently, our research and analysis team distributed out or sent out the most up-to-date unemployment insurance rate that we have. So for April of 2021, our current unemployment insurance rate is about 3.7%. So keeping that in mind, and the fact that employers are really struggling to find workers and vaccines are now widely available, Governor Gianforte announced on May 4th that Montana would be ending the enhanced pandemic-related unemployment insurance benefits, which brought us here today. So those programs will be ending the week ending June 26th of this year. And so today I brought forward to all of you, our subject matter experts, to provide the details about what that means for all of you. So there is a chat box. We encourage you to use it. You will not be able to see if other people are entering it. That's just the way it's set up here on this webinar. But we encourage you to enter any questions that you have. We do have a script that we're following, so we are sure to communicate all of the information that we want you to hear today. But if we do have time, we will go back and see if we can answer some of those questions. If we cannot, we will do our best to research them and place that information at the same place that we are putting the recording on our website, and also under our frequently asked questions on our unemployment insurance website page as well. Just a caveat to that, we cannot speak to individual situations here on this town hall or even in the chat box. We really are not allowed to due to confidentiality regulations that we have. So putting your own individual specific claimant information in here with a question is not something that we are going to be able to address today. But looking for any general questions, we will do our best to answer those. So I encourage you to use that chat box so we make sure this is as useful as it can be to all of you. So let's kick this off. I'm just going to run through our panelists today so you know who is speaking. From our Unemployment Insurance Division, we have Paul Martin, who is our Unemployment Insurance Division Administrator. We also have Rachel, Amanda, and Allison, who are experts in Montana unemployment insurance rules and regulations. And we also have Shannon from our Workforce Services Division, who's going to touch on the Return to Work initiative that was announced at the same time as the announcement for the ending of these programs. So Paul, I'm going to hand it over to you if you want to give just a general overview of unemployment insurance and a description of what we're doing here today and what these programs are.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen, and good afternoon, everyone. So the federal programs that are going to be sunsetted on, it will be week ending June 26th. That would be the last week of eligibility where these federal programs could release money. Now, that doesn't mean you have to file for it by the 26th. It doesn't, if you're waiting for eligibility decisions, those weeks will still pay out prior to and up until June 26th, if eligible for those weeks. But these are the programs that are going to expire on that date. The first one that affects everybody collecting unemployment insurance right now is what's called the FPUC, Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation. That's the one that's currently an additional $300 onto each week of benefits. So if you're on a new regular UI claim, you beyond or past the 26th, starting the 27th, you would, if eligible, you still get the weekly benefit amount of your regular UI claim, but it would not include an additional $300. So that is FPUC, and that would be going away week ending June 26th. The next federal program we want to talk about is PUA, which is Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And that's that brand new program that came about with the pandemic for people who don't work in what we would call covered employment. In other words, they're not an employee of a company where we could use the wages on a regular UI claim. This would be the self-employed, the gig workers, the Uber drivers. That's what the PUA program is for. And that is set to expire again on June 26th. Another federal program for back in regular UI is PEUC, and that's Pandemic Extended Unemployment Compensation. And what that is additional weeks of benefits if you've exhausted all your regular benefits on a regular UI claim. Say you had 28 weeks or 16 weeks and you've used them all up. You can't file a new regular UI claim until the claim year end date is up, but the PEUC program provided additional weeks of eligibility in regular UI. That too will be expiring June 26th of 21. Another program we have is MEUC, which stands for Mixed Earners Unemployment Compensation. And that is where someone is, let's say, eligible for a small amount of benefits or any amount of benefits in regular UI, but also can demonstrate proof of income and self-employment. We can, if they submit the proof, we can add an additional $100 onto a week of benefits if you're in the MEUC program. That will be going away on that date as well, June 26th. And then starting the week of effective June 27th, Montana's normal eligibility requirements regarding regular UI are back into place. And there were some exceptions to week eligibility with a pandemic. Obviously, it's hard to, sometimes you might not be able or available to work if you're quarantined. So there were certain carve-outs to the normal week eligibility requirements, but those will be returning starting the week of the 27th. So the first week ending date where those are all in effect will be that week ending July 3rd going forward. We're also going to talk a little bit today about RTW, which, as Kathleen said, Shannon will hit on later. But that's that. I just wanted to give the set of these are basically the federal programs we're talking about that are going to sunset. And the date to remember on your calendar is June 26, 2021. That is the last week these programs will be in play in the state of Montana.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that overview. We will be going into a little bit more detail on each one of the programs that Paul talked about, and also just a reminder of what those normal eligibility requirements are for anyone who may be remaining on regular unemployment, even when these enhanced programs end. So Amanda and Allison, I'm going to hit you guys up. You're going to be hearing a lot from Amanda and Allison today. They're going to first talk about FPUC, a reminder of what it is and what it means that this program is ending.
Thanks, Kathleen. I'll start. So Paul did a great overview. We're going to kind of go over this individually for you guys. Essentially effective 12/27 of 20, anyone filing on a regular unemployment insurance claim, PUA claim, and also PEUC claim, were provided an additional weekly benefit amount of $300. This was on top of any other weekly benefit amount or that, you know, in the PUA or regular unemployment claim. You know, to reiterate, and you guys will hear this a lot, is on June 27th, the state of Montana will no longer participate in the FPUC program. That does not mean if you're otherwise eligible on a regular UI claim that you would not be able to get your regular weekly benefit amount if you're eligible. And as a reminder, that benefit payments for weeks prior and including the week ending June 26th, regardless of when a decision is made, and as long as you know, the issue on your claim is allowed, you will get paid for any weeks up to and including the week ending June 26th.
Thanks so much, Amanda. I think the important thing to remember about is this is the additional that's added to whether you are on regular unemployment, PUC, or PUA. We'll try not to use those acronyms too much for all of you. But for anyone who remains on unemployment insurance after this and remains eligible for unemployment, this additional supplemental weekly benefit will not be added going forward. Is that correct, Amanda?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to pandemic unemployment assistance. Rachel, you're our resident expert on that. Do you want to break that down a little bit, please?
Yes, so the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program was originally created for those who are in the self-employed realm that are not eligible under the covered unemployment insurance program. Those that might not have been eligible for regular UI benefits, and individuals whose employment was impacted by COVID-19. The impact that the sunsetting of these programs has on the PUA program is, again, beginning June 27th of 2021. We will no longer be participating in that federal pandemic unemployment assistance program. So individuals who have filed for weeks prior to and including the week ending June 26th of 2021 will be paid if they are found eligible. In addition, as Amanda had mentioned, that federal pandemic unemployment compensation program also ends. So the PUA program, individuals who were receiving that, not only does the PUA piece of that end, but the additional $300 ends on that June 26th date. So anything after June 27th is not payable under the PUA program or the FPUC program.
All right, perfect. And there are a couple of questions in the chat, Rachel, about what week people are filing for this benefit. It is for the week ending June 26th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. And for all of you on the call here, we will go back with frequently asked questions after we go through each one of these slides, breaking down these programs. So I see your questions in the chat. So we will try to address some of those as we move forward. So Amanda and Allison, back to you as we talk about PEUC and how that is being affected by the change occurring on June 26th.
So PEUC provided an extension of your unemployment insurance claim, adding additional weeks of benefits for claimants who had or have exhausted their UI claim and are not eligible to file a new claim yet, don't have the wage base to file a new claim or anything along those lines. This program will be ending June 26th as well. That will be the last payable week if you're found eligible. Beginning June 27th, there will be no extensions. There will be no additional weeks. So as we said, if you are pending eligibility on the pandemic emergency claim, we will, once eligibility is determined, and if you are found eligible, we'll make payments on those weeks and those will be sent to you. But claimants who've exhausted their regular UI benefits will no longer be eligible for payments once the extension is done. Again, we'll move to the regular unemployment compensation rules moving forward, which means if your claim has exhausted, you won't be eligible to file a new claim until the claim year ends. And that can be found on your monetary determination that was sent at the beginning of your UI claim, the most recent one that you've had.
All right, we'll probably go back and ask you some questions about that, Allison, as far as how do people know what programs they're in and where they can find information to kind of clarify that if they're not sure. So you're, Amanda or Allison, you're up on the next slide as well, on MEUC.
This was the Mixed Earners Unemployment Compensation Program, or is, I should say. This provided an additional $100 per week to claimants who were both having covered employment and had established a claim, but also had self-employment that was affected by COVID-19. You needed to apply for this program, and this program looked at whether or not you had earned $5,000 in self-employment net income in the most recent taxable year. That program is still open to be applied for. There is documentation that goes along with that, and that will be requested. But this program will be ending June 26th as well. And beginning June 27th, we will not be issuing any of the additional $100 payments on this program. This program could have been on the PEUC, that extension that we talked about, or on the UI claim. And again, after the 27th, that extra $100 will not be on there. But anything prior to that, if you're pending eligibility, again, we will go ahead and issue the payments, including that 100 if you qualify for it.
Perfect. Thank you, Allison. All right. Same, Amanda and Allison, on the next slide when we're talking about able and available and actively seeking, and why we're even bringing this up. Why is this important for people to know?
What occurred with the Department of Labor Unemployment Insurance was we went ahead and we were given the ability to have more flexible, able and available rules due to the pandemic and the issues that people were seeing with them. We adopted those rules into what was an actual rule, which was 2411-478 of the Montana Administrative Code. And that is now being ended. And those able and available flexibility to the rules is going away. At this time, we were allowing certain types of layoffs concerning COVID-19 and what the employer was doing or what you were doing. We were allowing quarantine periods and things like that, depending on certain circumstances, and those are going away. We're going to go back to the pre-pandemic eligibility requirements, which focus, as anyone who's been on unemployment before, on the fact that you need to be able to accept work, available to accept work, and then, as always, just as a reminder, actively seeking work. So again, the eligibility requirements that will be looked at back to the pre-pandemic criteria are separations from work and the able and available criteria.
Right. So this is new language for some of our claimants who have been new to UI in the past year, or it's looked at just probably differently than it was during the pandemic. So we're trying to spend a little bit more time on this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what is a work search? So I think that's our next slide here.
Yep, I can talk about that. The other thing is, for those of you that haven't been on unemployment before, we're just on started during the pandemic. Your claimant handbook is the best guide you have for what would be the pre-pandemic eligibility requirements. It was never changed. It always kept what the original program was, because we knew we would be going back to it. So if I could see the work search slide, that would be great. So just as a reminder, as one thing that's always been true with unemployment, you needed to be actively seeking work. So what we consider a work search is an application made during the week in which you're requesting payment. So you need to keep track of those dates that you're applying for work, and that's the date. The date needs to fall within the week that you're requesting payment. Applying for a job includes completing a job application, submitting a resume if that's what the employer is requiring, not a job application, or attending a job interview. Any of those can qualify as a work search for unemployment insurance. Work search contacts need to be made with the person who has hiring authority. So we can't just walk into a business and hand our resume to the person sitting at the front desk and consider that a work search if that's not the appropriate party doing the hiring. You need to ask those questions. I have a resume. Are you guys looking for I'm looking for employment. Do you have job openings? And if they say yes, who would I give it to? What do I need to do? So again, we need to look for the person who has a hiring authority. The employer also must be paying into unemployment insurance. There are certain employers that are not, so you need to check that as well, and make sure that they are a part of our program. One of the big ones there is the railroad. They have their own unemployment insurance program, so they don't fall under ours, which means if you do look for work with the railroad, we don't consider that a work search because they're not paying into the unemployment insurance program. Registering with a temporary hiring agency can be considered one work search for 1 week of your claim year. That's it. So if you check back with them, that's great, but that one registration is your work search, okay? In your work search, we need you to include the business name, the person you contacted, the date of the contact, the position you applied for, the telephone number of the business, and if it's an internet application, the URL, the website. And if you know the result of the contact, please give us the result of the contact. If you don't know at that time, or if you're still pending, you can tell us that. So that would be, those are just some of the basics of what we consider a work search. There are a few other things, but those are your best criteria. And again, your claimant handbook explains this in detail, and that I would highly recommend you review that when you're doing your work searches, to make sure you're within the parameters we need you to be within.
Thank you for that overview. So just to remind people, or go back over and reinforce it, this has to be done every week, correct?
And you only have to do, we only require you to do one a week. If you do more than that, that's great. But the state of Montana only requires you to report one of them back to us. Yes.
Okay. So if we have a claimant who is filing weekly claims for benefits, this is something that you have to do every week. And again, the claimant handbook has all of this same information on here, which thanks, Kylie. You're doing a great job keeping up in the chat over there. But that is something that you will want to go back and refer to as a claimant, just to remind you what are the rules and the specifications around the work search requirement. So we do have a lot of questions here in the chat about how people are, how do they find jobs? How do they go out and re-engage? So I want to just touch on a little bit about the job service and what their role is here. So our job service offices work in a different division, but also here under the Department of Labor and Industry. There are 17 different job service offices located across our state. And they are open as far as taking appointments right now, and their doors will be open here within the next several weeks, but you do not have to wait for our doors to be open for job service to reach out and help you. They have community contacts. They are in touch with employers. Employers are hiring, and there are a lot of different services that our job service can do to help claimants as these programs are ending and they're trying to move forward. So even beyond the Return to Work Initiative, which we will touch on here in just a second. These job service offices and professionals can help you with resumes, prepare for interviews. If you are interested in additional training and education, there is all kinds of programs that we administer that can help you take those next steps. And we can also, we're also aware of what those UI rules are in the job service office. So knowing what you need to do to be eligible as far as your work search component is something they can help you with as well. So I encourage you to reach out to our job service offices. We administer multiple programs whose sole purpose is to help people re-engage in the workforce or gain additional skills to move up or change jobs in the workforce in Montana. So please reach out to these offices within your community and we can help you with those next steps. And with that, Shannon, I want to hand it over to you a little bit. If you can talk about the Return to Work initiative that the governor announced on May 4th, at the same time that we announced the end of these programs. Tell us a little bit about what that initiative is and how people can find out more information.
To find out more information, you can go to our website, which is montanaworks.gov/RTW. And on there, it has all of the frequently asked questions up to where you're eligible. And to be eligible, you have to be a Montana resident and be on the eligibility list as of May 1st. You have to seek and gain employment within the state of Montana in any industry. I've seen several questions about whether or not that it covers self-employed. Only if the self-employed person is returning to work with a W-2 employed or covered employee or employer. You have to obtain employment with a single employer for 4 consecutive weeks. This week would actually be the first week that people are eligible because the starting date for that was May 4th. You have to keep and obtain that appointment between the between the days of May 4th and October 31st. That is October 31st is the cutoff date.
All right, thanks. I'll keep going. Do you have more information?
I do, yes. On the FAQ page, there is a email address. If you have any questions that are not answered on that page, just email that and somebody will answer you as soon as they possibly can.
Right, sounds good. Thank you, Shannon. All right, I see all kinds of questions being entered here in the chat box. We have some that are frequently asked that we're going to run through quickly as well. First things off, Amanda and Allison, this is for you. What about people who are still in the middle of their claim, have not heard back anything? What does it mean for them if these programs end and they still, for various reasons, do not know really where their claim sits or where they are in the process? Allison, is that you or Amanda that's going to speak to that?
Either. I can take it.
Okay.
So we will have sent you information in the mail. You will have gotten a monetary determination for both your UI claim and your PEUC, the Pandemic Extended Unemployment Claim as well. If you have those, you can refer back to those to look at the dates to see what claim you're on. You also can go on to the claimant dashboard. That's where you request your payments, where you may have filed your claim. If you filed it online, in the claim module, in the Montana Works claim module, and that will tell you which claim you're on the dashboard. So as you go in, there's a variety of tiles for you to choose, and you can choose, I think it's Manager UI claim, and that will tell you which claim you're on. You can also send an email or reach out to the Claims Processing Center, and they can let you know. But I would highly recommend that you review any mail that we've sent you. We are going to be messaging out to each individual group as best we can concerning which claim you're on and what's going on with that type of claim. Those should also help point you to which claim you're on, and utilize the claim module, the montanaworks.gov claim module, where you log in to request your payments. And that on the dashboard will also let you know which type of claim you're on.
Okay, so when you're saying what kind of claim, you're talking about these different programs. So it will say on there, if you are on FPUC or PEUC, any of those, it will say, and if that is designated in there, that means that those programs will be ending. as of June 26th. Does that also mean, Allison, that we will not pay on any claim that was PEUC or FPUC after that date? Can you explain to me how that works? Say it hasn't been fully adjudicated. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
I can. So any claim, any request for payment filed after June 27th will be your normal payment, your normal weekly benefit amount. It will not include the FPUC, which is the extra $300 if you're on a UI claim. If you're on a PEUC claim, which is that extension, and you file for any weeks after that, that claim will not pay after June 27th. Any weeks June 26th and back that have not been adjudicated, that are still in adjudication, that may be going through the hearings process as well. If you're found eligible for any of those weeks, we will back pay those weeks at your normal weekly benefit amount that we told you we would, plus we will include the FPUC if you're eligible. So again, it's that division of those dates, June 26th and back, we'll pay the weekly benefit amount on the extension, on the UI claim, including the FPUC if you're eligible. June 27th and forwards, if you are on a UI claim and still have benefits, we'll pay that normal weekly benefit amount minus the 300. It won't be there anymore, and you'll notice that it won't be there anymore. And then on the extension, we will not be paying any of those weeks from June 27th forwards.
Perfect. Thank you.
And
So,
I think PUA might want to clarify on that as well.
yeah, do you want to jump in there, Rachel?
Yeah, definitely. So PUA, of course, has a little bit different weekly benefit amount, but it does have a weekly benefit amount. And individuals who are in a status of their claim being reviewed to determine eligibility, anything prior to and including that June 26th date, if you are found eligible, would be eligible for your weekly benefit amount plus the $300 add-on for the FPUC. Anything after the date of the 27th of June, those would not be eligible for claim payments, either the PUA or the extra $300, because those programs are ending.
So just to repeat that, for regular unemployment or PUA, if the claim is filed for weeks prior to June 26th and you are eligible, those payments will still be distributed with the additional COVID or pandemic related programs that we're talking about today. However, for anything filed after that date, for regular unemployment, it will be the regular unemployment rules applied. So no additional weeks under PEUC or no additional payment added to it. And for PUA, the program just ends. So again, Rachel, how does someone know if they're on PUA or regular unemployment?
Yes, so they would have received a monetary determination indicating that they're with the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. They also would have a different account. It wouldn't be through the Montana Works site. It would be through our PUA program, and they have a regular what we call an e-services account that they can access their claim information. The majority of our individuals access their claim information that way and file their weeks through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program.
Okay.
And there will be information on that site that will assist you with knowing what your benefit amount is and the ending dates of that program.
Okay, sorry, Rachel, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No problem.
So both you and Allison also referred to a monetary determination. Is that a letter or an email? If someone wants to go back to that and refer to it, how do they find that? Allison, you first, and then I'll go to Rachel.
That was a letter that was sent out at the beginning when you initially filed your claim, letting you know what your weekly benefit amount was, what your maximum benefit amount is, and how many weeks you were entitled to if you're eligible. That would be for us, we would have mailed that out. It also is, portions of it are viewable on, again, Montana Works in the claim module. Once you log in on your dashboard for you to review. So those would be the two best places to look for those.
That's regular unemployment. And for PUA, Rachel, can you dive into that?
Sure. Yeah, basically the same thing. They would have been mailed the document if that is the form of communication they had chosen. Otherwise, they would have received an email notification of their monetary. And then it is also found on our PUA site where they file their weekly certifications, and they can access the information about their claim on that account.
Great, thank you. So Amanda and Allison, I believe this question is you. When these programs are ending and people aren't sure if they're eligible for regular unemployment or not, what is your advice to them? Should they file a claim anyway? Where should they go for information? What's your advice there? Amanda, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll start on this one. There's a couple things that you guys can do. Like Allison said before, always check your dashboard to see what program you're on. Regular UI is going to continue along with the eligibility rules. If you are on PEUC and PUA, they're both going to end. So that's the first thing I would check. The second thing is if you have questions, attempt to get a hold of us, email, call, but we also will do letters, individualizing them to your situation about what program is going to end, what program that you're on, and kind of what it means for you specifically as well.
So if someone is unsure whether or not they should file a claim, what is your advice?
If there is if the claim module online Montana Works will have a link if you are eligible for a new regular unemployment claim. So as you're navigating Montana Works, trying to figure out what program that you are on, the monetary determination that Allison said previously does show when your regular claim exhausted. So anytime you see file a new claim, it is there for a reason, and definitely file that claim. That would be for regular unemployment only, at least in, after June 27th.
Okay, so if people aren't sure, there's nothing wrong with filing an unemployment insurance claim. If they aren't eligible, they will just go work through that process, and that will be communicated back to them, correct?
That is correct.
All right, sounds good. Rachel, I'm going to ask some questions related to PUA here because we seem to be getting quite a few questions in the chat box on there. One of the questions is, when would I receive my last payment if I am on PUA? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yes. So if you are claiming for the week ending June 26th, which will be the end of the program, once you file for those weeks, you should be eligible to, or if you are found eligible to receive those weeks, those should be paid out shortly after you have received your eligibility. Any weeks after the 27th of June, those will not be payable weeks because the program will be ending.
So what about those who are in the middle waiting for adjudication? That kind of depends on their own situation, right? As to when they may receive payment or benefits paid out if they're eligible for weeks preceding June 26th, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And that would be dependent on where they are in the process. If we're in the middle of conducting redeterminations or appeals, but they would be notified through communications such as letters and emails with regard to their eligibility status.
Right.
We will be continuing to adjudicate those claims and rendering those decisions to them.
All right, thank you. And their benefits will be distributed in the same manner they are receiving them now, correct? If they're receiving them through direct deposit, that last payment or for that week ending June 26th will be the same, correct?
That would be correct.
All right, and Allison, under regular unemployment, that's the same as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so nobody has to change how they're receiving benefits. There's no need to adjust that at all.
No, not unless they want to.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Allison. So I have seen a couple questions in here. about if people still, if they're on PUA and they're still being impacted by COVID, whether it's a childcare issue or if they contract COVID. Rachel, is there any eligibility for PUA after the week ending June 26th for them?
No, there is no eligibility after June 26th for those circumstances.
So the program does end. So for those individuals that even if they continue to be impacted in a certain way by COVID or the pandemic, you will want to be looking at other resources available, taking a look at your budget and adjusting for that, because we at that point will not have the ability to make those claims eligible. The program just ends at that point. Let's talk a little bit more about regular UI. If someone is, and Amanda or Allison, I'm not quite sure who wants to answer these. So Amanda, I guess I'll go to you first. If someone is job attached, are they required to do a work search?
That's part of our regular eligibility requirements. And job attachment is something where you're going back to work for at least 30 or more hours per week. And if we get that information, we will notify you that your work search requirement is waived. So you're not required to look for other work. It is updated on your on Montana Works on your dashboard. So you will see that your work search requirements would be 0.
Okay. So if you do not receive that communication, then those work search requirements are in place, just like Allison was talking to earlier, and people would have to do those on a weekly basis, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Let's see, I'm just going through some of the notes I've made on some of the questions that have been going through the chat. So both, Amanda, I'll go to you first and then to Rachel. When is someone supposed to file for that last week? Is it by June 26th, or are they filing afterwards to receive benefits for that last week?
That's also a good question, because I did see it in the chat where most people file weekly payment requests. So if you log in and file on the June 27th, like you normally would, payment is still gonna, if you're eligible, be released that following week. So the earliest you can file for the week ending June 26th is gonna be June 27th. If you file bi-weekly, you'll still have 12 to 14 days to actually go in and file for that last week in June on Montana Works as well.
Okay. Rachel, did you want to add to that?
The same would apply for your PUA program as well. So the earliest they could file for that week ending June 26th is Sunday, June 27th. And the normal course of payment and timeframes would apply to those individuals.
Okay, sounds good. And Allison and Rachel, you both touched on this, but just as a reminder to everyone, how does somebody find out which one of these programs they are on? Where would they look? Allison, I'll go to you first.
MontanaWorks.gov on the claimant mod when you log in on your dashboard, it should specify which program you're on, what your weekly benefit amount is, and that would be the best place for you to access that. You would also be able to find it if you still have your monetary determinations based on the last one that you received. That should also let you know which program you're on as well. And any other mailing we sent may have told you if you qualified on a program that moved you to another claim.
Okay, and we are sending out individual communications for people who are, if you're on PEUC, you will receive a letter or an email. MEUC, PUA, you will receive notification that that program is ending. So that will be communicated out as well. Rachel, if people have questions about anything that they are on, where can they look for PUA?
Yes, their e-services account that they have, that area provides to them their own personal information about their account, and it would show their monetary, the amount that they were found eligible for, and also point to them the weekly benefit amount and allow them to file for their continued weeks that are left on their claim.
Okay, sounds good. I want to touch a little bit about the work search. Allison, I'll go to you. Does the work search have to be conducted in Montana?
No, as long as it's a claim that you're willing to accept in an area that you're willing to accept it in, and it's a job that you are willing to do and that you are qualified and have the training to do, or they will provide the training for you to do it. No, it does not have to be in the state of Montana.
Okay. What about if you get called back for a follow-up second interview? Does that count if you've already reported the first interview, say the week before? Does the second interview meet the requirements?
That's a good question. And I'm blanking on the answer to that one. Rachel, are you aware
Yeah.
on that one?
Yes, yeah, they should be able, if it's a second interview with that employer, it's a progression in the application process. So yes, that should be acceptable for the individual to include as a work search.
Okay, sounds good. And
Kathleen, there
yeah.
might have been some confusion with RTW versus work search. And maybe Shannon can enlighten us here, but my understanding is to be eligible for the RTW, return to work, that has to be a Montana employer of record. But a work search on a regular UI claim can be with an employer out of state, as long as it's a valid work search.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Paul. That is
Thank you.
correct.
So when we're talking about hours and earnings, that's something else that seems to be a frequently asked questions for regular unemployment. We haven't touched on that at all. Amanda, do you want to talk about what reporting hours and earnings is? So just as a reminder to everybody what that means and what that will mean after June 27th as well.
Sure. So a lot of people might be getting them with return to work and us, but if you do return to work for regular UI, you may still potentially have eligibility over here. What that means is every Sunday or weekly, when you go in and file your weekly payment requests, we definitely want you to report your hours and earnings. You're going to report the gross amount before any deductions, and online it goes through bonuses, commission, vacation. So just make sure that if or when you find a new job, you're accurately reporting your hours and earnings. We do have a ton of information because there's a lot of different kinds of earnings on our website and in the claimant handbook as well.
Yeah, again, the claimant handbook is going to be everyone's best resource as far as regular unemployment going forward. So I encourage all of you to take a look at that. So Shannon, I want to get you in here. We do have quite a few questions regarding return to work. So do you want to touch again on the return to work? How will people be notified if they're eligible for return to work? Do you want to touch on some of those basics again?
If they are either eligible or ineligible, they will be contacted by either email or phone call. If I need more information from them, more pay stubs, clarification of employment, those types of things, I will be calling each individual and asking them those questions and having them email me that information, or they can also fax it in. What other questions? I've seen a lot of questions. You have to be employed in the state of Montana. You can't be living here and then go move out of state and use that as employment for the bonus. That does not work.
All right. What about people who are underemployed, say working reduced hours, so they're receiving unemployment insurance benefits right now? Are they eligible at all for this return to work incentive? How does that work for them?
So you may be job attached, but you have to have had a full separation from that job. You can be going back to either reduced hours or part-time or full-time with that employer, but you have to have had that full separation for a period of time. If you have or if you're working reduced hours and you increase your hours, that does not make you eligible for the bonus.
right? So if somebody returns back to the person that their job attached with that employer, I'm just repeating the message so people hear it, Shannon. So those people would not be eligible for the return to work incentive. However, if they go to work with a completely separate employer, even in a part-time capacity, they would be eligible, even if they maintain the original job where they might be underemployed or working reduced hours, as long as the second job they've picked up is with an employer that they were fully separated from or is a new employer, correct?
No, if they have been working through the pandemic and have been receiving UI, they are not eligible. They have to have been fully separated.
Okay, I might not understand that. So we'll put some clarifying information on the
Okay.
website just to make sure that we have that correct. So I'm not the only one that's confused there. Let's see. So people will be notified about that if they are eligible or not. They need to go and get a job. And once they have worked for 4 consecutive weeks, then what do they do, Shannon?
They then go online and they fill out the application and submit their pay stubs.
Okay. And if you need additional information, you will reach out to them for that, correct?
Yes, I will. And they
Okay.
receive their bonus the same way they've been receiving any of their UI payments, either by check or by direct deposit.
Okay, sounds good. So we will post maybe a one-pager information along with this slide deck and any other answers to questions we were not able to field today during this chat box, along with where we're posting this recording on our website. So you can go back and reference that. Of course, if you have any information or any questions about the return to work incentive, the contact information is on the slide in front of you as well. So encourage you to reach out to Shannon, who can provide more specifics on that. I would like to remind all of the claimants that the return to work incentive is not the only program that the Department of Labor Workforce Services Division administers for our workforce and for employees and workers out there. I encourage you to take a look at our website, contact your local job service. There are multiple programs that we can either help you be in touch with an employer, or if you are looking for additional training and education, how to walk that path to get you to that job that you want to attain, whether that's through training or an apprenticeship. We have veteran and disability services and multiple programs that are available for anybody who is trying to re-engage the workforce. So contact your local job service. They are open right now and taking appointments. They are working with employers across the state who are being challenged with trying to fill vacant positions. So they're a really good source in tying you with those employers. So as you get closer to this June 26th date where these enhanced programs are ending, you will want to really use those resources that are available to you. The other resources that you might want to be considering and thinking about right now, the Department of Commerce is administering several programs related to housing and rental assistance. I encourage you to take a look at the Montana Department of Commerce Coronavirus Relief page, housing assistance. If you Google that, that will take you to a page that lists several different resources that are available for housing assistance or rental assistance. I would also encourage you, if childcare is a concern or an issue accessing reliable childcare, that you take a look at DPHHS. There are different resource and referral agencies that they work with in communities across Montana, and they can put you in touch with what may be available in your community, or also resources to help fund childcare as you are re-entering the workforce. So I encourage you to avail yourself of those resources as well. So we've got about 5 minutes left. This hour has gone quickly and we've gone through a lot of information. I do want to go through the group here and just for 1 or 2 statements, what do you want people to walk away with knowing or remembering as this ends, as they prepare for the changing and the ending of these programs. So let's see, Rachel, I'll probably start with you. What is it about PUA?
Yeah, so again, PUA was stood up as a result of the pandemic, and that program is going away. And so the June 26th date is the important date on that we need to remember. That is the last week that you can file for and receive a PUA if you are eligible.
Great, thank you, Rachel. And just again, people who are on PUA are eligible for the return to work incentives. If you, once that program ends or you stop receiving benefits for PUA, you become employed with a W-2 covered employer within the state of Montana, you are eligible for that $1,200 bonus. Allison, what about you?
That the programs are ending as of June 26th, and that we are doing as much messaging as humanly possible to let you guys know exactly what's going on, and to please watch your mail, read all the letters that you get from us. Please watch your email, check your spam box to make sure there's nothing in there, and read all the communication that we're sending to you through email as well, so that we are able to answer as many of your questions as we can, and to help you be able to plan for what's coming.
Thank you, Allison. Amanda?
Yeah, just piggybacking on Allison, we sent mass communication to everybody. Now in the upcoming weeks, we're gonna be kind of getting a hold of people and what it means on their specific claims. So like Allison said, watch your mail, check your dashboard, kind of see how it's going to play out for your specific situation. But we do plan on communicating more on what program you're on and what it means for you. So
yeah, so just a reminder for everyone, check your email, read your mail, be checking your dashboard if you're not sure what programs you are on right now. Your monetary determination letter that you originally received when you filed, excuse me, will tell you that information, but also the dashboard on Montana Works as well. So you can help prepare for what this means once this is implemented. What about you, Paul? Closing thoughts for the group?
Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the RTW confusion was if you worked reduced hours through the pandemic, you would not be eligible to go back you would not be eligible for RTW if you went back full time. But if you had a complete separation, you were laid off from your job, then you could be eligible for RTW. I saw one gentleman was wondering what we were doing with the $300 if we're not paying it out to UI claims. We did not, the state of Montana or any state does not get allocated these funds ahead of time. What it is if we can offer them on weeks, we get reimbursement. So we're not sitting on this or anything. It's just we're sunsetting the program. So we're not going to request reimbursement on a week where it can't pay out. Another gentleman asked about why he gets a lower percentage when other people will get 50-60% of their paycheck. Unemployment insurance benefits are part of payroll taxes, and the UI component is only on, I believe it's the first $35,000 in wages. So when you increase in wages, it covers less and less of your paycheck, but that's a constant, the amount of taxable wage base we can apply UI to. So I hope that answers your questions, but everyone here hit it right on the head. The 26th of June is going to be an important date for us. Please look at communication, and we're going to be messaging this all we can between now and then. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. All right, I want to thank the panelists for getting on today. This is, it can seem somewhat complicated, so we're doing our best to communicate out to all of you. A recording of this town hall will be placed on our website along with the additional information that we've talked about today. We will be holding another town hall on June 15th and taking a look at the questions you're asking here today, and also that we are fielding in our offices to make sure that you have the information available to you. So be watching for that. In the meantime, thank you very much. Take a look at your dashboard and be watching for any communication that we are sending to you through mail or email. And I just want to thank you for joining us today and thank my panelists as well. And also those working in the background in the chat box. They've done an outstanding job today. So with that, we'll close out and we will be back in touch at our next town hall, which will be June 15th. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.